Coming up, an Oklahoma man is dead following a fatal crash in Kansas.
Skywatch Storm Tracker is quiet right now, but in about 7 hours, that could be a different story. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And high school students in Wyandotte interested in aviation can take their interests to new heights.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. Boy, we have got one heck of a morning show lined up today.
We do.
We've got, hold on. I don't need these notes. I need these notes. This list is about a mile long. And you know why?
Because it was Election Tuesday yesterday.
Darn right it was. So hopefully you got out to the polls and made your voice heard, because we're going to tell you what you had to say about several different things. It's a really long list, so we'll have to get straight to that. But there's a number of things on there, so if you were out voting, just know that you made a difference. You may not think that, but it really does. Every vote counts, because there's been more than one time where sometimes all it takes is that one vote pushes somebody into the win column instead of in the losers column, you know?
There you go.
You got to make sure you do that. And everybody, I think, last night was also casting a ballot for rain, and guess what? Rain won. It's going to do that later today. So the Skywatch Storm Tracker today is very quiet this morning. Other than these nice orange colors, they are heat advisories that run through tonight at 8 o'clock because it's going to be toasty. We do have the possibility of some strong storms today, as you can see. We've got a very low tornado risk, but there might be some hail and gusty winds with some of the stronger storms later today. Right now, 7th and Range Line. That light in our parking lot looks like the sun, but it's not. It's too early for that. It's 81 degrees right now, feeling like 85 as we start this Wednesday morning. And look at these temperatures, man. It is a very warm start to the day. So as we go through the day, we're going to get to 100 degrees, maybe a pinch above for a good number of us. But take a look at those thunderstorm icons. By about noon, we've got a good chance of some scattered storms developing, and then we'll have more of these storms overnight. And they'll stick around through a good chunk of tomorrow morning as well. And again, some of these storms could be a little bit on the strong side. And of course, if any of that changes later this evening, Doug Hetty's here and he'll keep you posted. But right now, it's a very low-end risk of a strong storm or two. But one way or the other, we're getting some much-needed rain.
And we need it. That's
we
for sure.
absolutely do. Like I said, the drought situation is pretty severe. It's going to take quite a bit of rain to offset that, but we've got thunderstorms. Thunderstorms generally produce some pretty good rainfall, so it's going to help. It's not going to get rid of the drought, but it's going to help.
Okay, sounds good. And we'll get to more of that later.
We certainly will.
All right, we'll also get to the elections in a bit, but first, let's head to our top news stories. An Oklahoma man is dead following a crash in Montgomery County, Kansas. Authorities say Claude Seacrest of Ponca City, Oklahoma, was driving a motorcycle on County Road 1350 when he went off the road and hit an embankment. He was not wearing a helmet. A Cassville, Missouri high school teacher is sentenced in federal court for a sextortion scheme. Authorities say 31-year-old Brandon McCullough of Branson blackmailed dozens of child victims to send pornographic photos and videos of themselves and threatened to send the images to family and friends unless they continued to send him more. They say he pretended to be a teenager online in order to prey upon victims across the country. 11 children have been identified and dozens more are still unidentified. He is sentenced to 30 years in prison without parole. Law officers arrest a Topeka woman for a Neosho County, Kansas homicide case. Authorities say 41-year-old Nicole Fox is a suspect in the death of 34-year-old Blake Pearson, also from Topeka. Last month, Pearson was found in an alley in Chanute with a gunshot wound. He later died. KBI officers arrested Fox in Allen County. Well, you've cast your votes. Now the numbers are coming in, and we have results from yesterday's primaries in both Missouri and Kansas. We'll start with the Value Them Both Amendment in Kansas. It would allow lawmakers to put tighter restrictions on abortions in the state. The entire nation is watching this count. The Associated Press has declared that the proposition has failed. Again, the no vote prevails in Kansas. In Joplin, Proposition Public Safety would have raised property taxes to boost funding for the police and fire departments. It needed a simple majority, but it failed. 4,643 no to 3,586 yes. 20 candidates competed for the Republican nomination in Missouri's U.S. Senate race, and Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt is declared the winner in that race. 11 candidates competed to be the Missouri Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate. The declared winner in that race is Trudy Bush Valentine from St. Louis. And a lot of Republicans are competing for the 7th District congressional seat, currently held by Billy Long. Associated Press has called this race for Eric Burleson. Well, 3 Democrats are competing for their party's nomination in Missouri's 7th District. Associated Press has called this race for Kristen Radiger Schaefer. In Missouri's 4th District, 7 candidates are competing for the Republican congressional nomination. Mark Alford has been declared the winner in this race. The people of Carthage voted on an $18 million school bond for a performing arts center. A majority of people supported that proposal, but it failed to get the 4/7 majority needed to pass. That means the Carthage school bond proposal fails. In the Kansas race for governor, Attorney General Derek Schmidt gets the Republican nomination. He will face incumbent Laura Kelly in November. In the Kansas U.S. Senate race, incumbent Republican Jerry Moran easily wins his party's nomination against a single challenger. And a number of candidates are competing for the Democratic nomination for the Kansas U.S. Senate seat. Mark Holland is declared the winner in that race. State Auditor Republican vote for one David Gregory Scott Fitzpatrick declared winner. And State Representative 161st District Republican vote for one Lane Roberts declared winner over Thomas Ross. And State Senator District 28 Republican vote for one Bill Yarberry. Sandy Crawford is declared the winner in this race. And State Senator District 20 Republican vote for one Curtis Trent is declared the winner in this race as well. Secretary of State Republican vote for one Mike Brown is declared the winner. I'm trying to read this one. It looks like Scott Schwab is declared the winner over Mike Brown in this race. Attorney General Republican vote for this race, Chris Kobach is declared the winner in this race over Kelly Warren and Tony Mativi. State Treasurer Republican, the vote for this race is Stephen Johnson, just barely winning. No, Karen Tyson is just barely winning over Stephen Johnson in this race. An aviation program is taking flight at Wyandotte High School. The Chief Leaford Bearskin Aviation School will start this coming school year. Freshmen and sophomores will have the opportunity to take classes to get their personal pilot's license or branch out to different pathways like plane maintenance, safety and security, or drone piloting.
We're a lot more concerned with who these students are going to be 5 years from now than just who they are right now. We want them to have an idea, an understanding of the career that they're going to go into, and use that as the hook so that they can understand what they need to be doing while in high school.
Program and supplies are being funded by grants from a RISE Veterans and the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. Universal Schools Meal Program, a program that was implemented during the pandemic, was not renewed for this coming school year. Despite the removal of the program, no child will be turned away due to outstanding lunch balances. Officials with Pittsburgh schools say they're trying to let parents know they have to manually apply for free or reduced meals through the Department of Agriculture's website.
It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve because the last couple of years our parents had to fill out paperwork in a little bit different way and different paperwork. And so now we're trying to educate the public on what paperwork they need to fill out so that they can qualify for free and reduced lunches.
Alternative lunches consisting of a PB&J or a sub sandwich are for students with outstanding meal balances.
We're going to see some rain today. It's coming, should be here around noon. Take a look at the future track. This is around noon. You see them off to the northwest. They start to overspread the area throughout the afternoon and evening hours. And as we head overnight, look at how more numerous these become. And they're going to hang on through the first part of our Thursday, but they'll eventually clear out and they will give way to, yet again, warm temperatures. Heat advisory still in effect today through 8 o'clock. Afternoon highs today pushing about 100 degrees. Before the rain gets here, but at least we're getting rain. So,
all right, that sounds good. Well, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Orlando Brown Jr. finally shows up to the Chiefs training camp. We'll have more details on his arrival.
Plus, there's a teacher shortage nationwide. We'll take a look at how it's affecting Kansas City, Kansas school districts.
Baby bottles get recalled after high lead levels are discovered in them. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Kansas City Chiefs are entering their second week of practice at training camp in St. Joe. Yesterday, Chiefs got a big name back on the field with left tackle Orlando Brown Jr. reporting to camp and practicing for the first time this summer. Brown will be playing under the franchise tag this season after he was unable to come to a long-term agreement with the Chiefs this offseason. His return to the team is a big deal because the three-time Pro Bowler skipped OTAs earlier this summer. And here's Brown on missing that time, but now returning for camp this week.
It's always hard. You know, like I said, man, I pride myself on being a leader. I pride myself on being someone that wants to be here for his teammates and showing up every day, bringing the most positive energy that I can bring to the locker room and on the field, man. And so it was difficult to be away from it for so long. But, you know, the understanding was that, you know, I had to do what I had to do. You know, I want to be here. I want to finish my career here in Kansas City. And, you know, I'm sure, you know, questions out there. But, you know, to me, man, with the contract situation, it just wasn't enough guarantees, and I want to be here for the rest of my career in Kansas City, and that's really important to me.
Baxter Springs 14 and under baseball has a shot at the Junior Little League World Series. The team is headed to the Central Regional Tournament in Michigan, which begins on Saturday. The team hit the field for practice last night, and they'll practice once more today before they hit the road to Michigan on Thursday. Now, if they go win this regional, Baxter Springs advances to the Junior Little League World Series, which is also in Michigan on August 14th.
That'd be a dream come true for these kids, and just a good payoff for all of the hard work that they've done. And I know they're excited to represent the community. The community over the last few weeks since they've heard we're doing this has been nothing but supportive, and we're real blessed to be in the Baxter community.
Practice has been good. We've been trying pretty hard, working real good to get up there and represent Kansas and represent the town of Baxter Springs. And we're ready to go up there and play some good baseball.
The St. Louis Cardinals opened a 3-game rivalry series against the Chicago Cubs last night. The two teams have played 8 times so far this season and have split those 8 games with 4 wins apiece. They play 11 times in the second half of the season, beginning with this one last night. Yadier Molina doing his thing behind the plate, nails the runner trying to steal second. Game scoreless until the third. Bottom of the third, Paul Goldschmidt gets the scoring started. RBI single scores Tommy Edman and Nolan Gorman. It's 2-0 Cards. To the 5th, Dylan Carlson with a man on, up and out for the 2-run jack. It's 4-0. Finally, another long ball. Goldschmidt back to work. Solo shot. It's all Cardinals tonight, or last night rather. They beat the Cubs 6-0. In the American League, the Kansas City Royals faced the Chicago White Sox in Game 2 of their 3-game series. The Royals won the opener 2 nights ago, 2-1. Last night's game, though, goes to the White Sox 9-2. Salvador Perez goes 2 for 4 with a double and an RBI. Well, still to come, an experimental monkeypox drug is hard to get. We'll have those details. Plus, take a look at that forecast when we return.
Fair.
Well, we have a busy day of weather today because we've got increasing storm chances. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Heat advisories are still in effect through this evening, 8 o'clock to be exact. We got scattered storms possible by this afternoon. Those storm chances are going to increase overnight, or tonight, overnight, and into first thing tomorrow. Right now, Skywatch Storm Tracker's pretty dry. We've got some little showers up there, nothing major. Orange is the theme still as these heat advisories continue to keep us in check with the heat. So we do have some strong storms possible, so very low tornado risk. Where you see the brown outlines, there's some hail possible, and of course in this brown outline we could see some strong wind gusts with some of the storms. That's not saying all these storms are going to get unruly, but a few of them could be a little bit on the nasty side, and that's what they'll bring if they decide to get all riled up. 81 is where we are in Joplin. Feels like 85. Dew point, humidity, both up there ahead of this incoming system. You can see most of us starting our day in the upper 70s to lower 80s, just like we promised. So unfortunately, it's nasty. It's not going to get any better. Temperatures hitting up to 100 by the afternoon for our highs, the heat advisories, scattered storms, and more of them overnight. And as we head into the overnight, those storm chances will increase. And some of those storms, as we mentioned, could be on the strong side. The rain actually carries into tomorrow morning and might even last through about, say, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning with overnight lows a little bit better this time, lower 70s for a good chunk of us. We're going to take a look at the future track and the 7-day forecast a little later on the KOAM Morning News. Well, school districts around the country prepare for the start of a new school year. Many of them are facing a teacher shortage. One Kansas school district is trying to recruit just weeks away from students returning to classes. Dennis Evans reports.
A fully staffed school means that our students are going to have what they need from day one.
The first day of school in Kansas City, Kansas School District is still a couple of weeks away, but Cynthia Folks is still busy recruiting teachers.
If we can get at least 50 individuals to become teachers, substitute teachers, instructional aides or paraprofessionals.
KCK is not alone in the search to fill positions in the school district. It's a nationwide problem.
When you think about how many students are coming out and graduating and going into those careers, that's one factor.
The other major factor is stress. From teaching during COVID to violence in schools, retaining teachers has become a challenge.
And they're just not really sure what they will meet the first day they come in.
For that reason, KCK is making as many resources as possible available. They want to provide proper support to their teaching staff.
If we can get that right, then that at least will help the individual to be here day one and know that they're just not going to be left alone.
Starting salary for teachers' pay in Kansas City, Kansas School District is about $45,000, but for those difficult to fill positions like science, mathematics, special education, and especially Spanish, there's up to a $5,000 increase in pay.
That brings us to our something to talk about this morning. When did you want, goodness, I was just talking to our camera op, Trevor. Reading has not been my strong point this morning. What did you want to be when you were little? Teacher, police or firefighter, astronaut, superhero, actor, actress, model, maybe something different? You can vote, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do so in the app, and of course take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. And because I've got a few extra seconds, I'll tell you what I wanted to be when I was little. It's this right here. I was 5 years old when I realized, at 5, I realized I wanted to be the first to tell people things that were important. And that just kind of evolved from there to going, news is the way you do that. It's important to be the first, but also be accurate to make sure you're telling people something important. And then weather is another key area where you've got to tell people things that are important. And here I am today. Not everybody knows what they want to be at 5 years old, and that's why we're asking you to vote and let us know when you were younger, what did you think you were going to be? What was your dream? Make sure you do vote and participate in that discussion. We're going to be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning. On Tuesday, Kansas voters chose to keep the right to an abortion in their state's constitution by voting no on a proposed constitutional amendment. In 2019, the Kansas Supreme Court ruled the state constitution does protect abortion rights. A yes vote on the proposed amendment would have removed that right. This comes just weeks after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, which had guaranteed abortion rights under the U.S. Constitution for nearly 50 years. The vote to preserve abortion rights in Kansas, a red state, indicates that public support for reproductive rights remains high. A popular baby bottle manufacturer issues a recall due to high lead levels in some of its products. Consumer Product Safety Commission says the markings on the outside of some of Nuke's first choice glass baby bottles contain lead levels higher than those set by the federal government. About 100 bottles sold in the U.S. are affected, and they were designed for newborn to 6-month-old babies and sold exclusively on Amazon. Bottles have white and gray stars on the outside, along with the brand name Nuke printed in white. A drug is available for monkeypox patients who have severe disease or who are at risk for it, but doctors say the drug continues to be hard to get. This as 3 states have declared public health emergencies. Mandy Gaither has the latest on monkeypox in the U.S.
California and Illinois now join New York State declaring a public health emergency over the monkeypox outbreak.
The U.S. is now leading the world when it comes to the total number of cases.
Across the U.S., more than 5,800 confirmed cases, the virus found in every state but 2, Wyoming and Montana, according to the CDC. TPOXX is considered an experimental treatment for monkeypox. It was FDA approved for smallpox, a virus in the same family. While there's no human trial data to prove it's effective in treating monkeypox, the CDC says doctors may want to use TPOXX in those with symptoms in hazardous areas like the eyes, in people with severe symptoms like sepsis, or people at risk of severe illness like those who are immunocompromised.
Anecdotally, 2-3 doses of this TPOXX medicine is really making a difference for people, and these lesions are just melting away.
The U.S. government stockpiled nearly 2 million doses of the drug in case of a bioterrorism event, despite the CDC and FDA cutting some red tape for monkeypox patients to get the antiviral drug. Some say it's still hard to access.
You're talking about a 5-6 day time lag to get that medication to you at a local doctor's office, no matter where you are. And the paperwork and all of the bureaucracy to make that happen is very cumbersome. It takes a few hours of your time. And that's the barrier.
Although some doctors have reported cases in which they think TPOXX may have been beneficial, the CDC says evidence of how well it works in humans has been limited to drug levels in blood and a few case studies. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Got a busy weather today in the Skywatch Weather Center. We got heat advisories for everybody in orange, which is all of us except Benton County, till tonight at 8 o'clock. We do have a limited risk for some stronger storms later today. As you can see, pretty low tornado risk, but if you're in the brown, there might be some hail out there, and if you're in this brown, you could experience some gusty, severe winds. As we take a look, 7th and range line, temperatures are starting out mild too. 81 in Joplin, feeling like 85. All of us are in the 80s to start the day, and as we head through the day, you can see temperatures still reaching up to about 100. Storm chances start picking up by noon. Those heat advisories hang in, then the storm chances really increase overnight. Everybody getting in on the action, starting the day at 73. And again, some of these storms may be a little bit on the strong side. If any of that changes, of course, meteorologist Doug Heddy will keep you updated tonight. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, an Oklahoma man is dead following a fatal crash in Kansas.
We've got increasing thunderstorm chances as we head into the afternoon. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And high school students in Wyandotte interested in aviation can take that interest to new heights.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:32. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. We have a busy morning. Of course, we had elections last night, got a lot of news to cover. We've also got a lot of weather to cover as well because we got some changes. They're going to start this afternoon. So we do have the heat advisories that are in effect. These will go until 8 o'clock tonight for everybody in orange, which is everybody except Benton County. And then we do have the chance for some stronger storms later today. So as you can see, tornado risk is very low, but if you're in the brown and the hail, you could see some hail. And of course, on the other side, if you're in that brown mark, you could see some strong winds. And that's not saying every storm is going to be a bad storm. It's just saying some of them might get a little rowdy tonight. Right now, though, temperatures are a little rowdy. It's 81 degrees at 5:33 a.m., feeling like 85 in Joplin. Most of us starting our day right around 80 degrees. And it's only going to get hotter. We're pushing for afternoon highs about 100. We got those heat advisories, some scattered storms through the afternoon. And as we head into the overnight, those storm chances really pick up. And everybody gets in on the rain action, and then that rain will be clearing out tomorrow morning, late in the morning. And again, some of those storms may be a bit on the strong side, and should any of them decide to get a little too crazy, meteorologist Doug Heddy will be here this evening to let you know about that and keep up to date. But right now, they're not expected to be anything too bad.
All right, sounds like we're going to get the rain we need.
Yeah, one way I mean, it's the one thing about thunderstorms is even if they don't get nasty, they usually give us some pretty good heavy rain, and we'll take it.
Yeah,
now, of course, you got to watch out for the flash flooding. but we'll take this rain in one form or another.
All right, sounds good. Well, an Oklahoma man is dead following a crash in Montgomery County, Kansas. Authorities say Claude Seacrest of Ponca City, Oklahoma, was driving a motorcycle on County Road 1350 when he went off the road and hit an embankment. He was not wearing a helmet. Law officers arrest a Topeka woman for a Neosho County, Kansas homicide case. Authorities say 41-year-old Nicole Fox is a suspect in the death of 34-year-old Blake Pearson, also from Topeka. Last month, Pearson was found in an alley in Chanute with a gunshot wound. He later died. KBI officers arrested Fox in Allen County. A Cassville, Missouri high school teacher is sentenced in federal court for a sextortion scheme. Authorities say 31-year-old Brandon McCullough of Branson blackmailed dozens of child victims to send pornographic photos and videos of themselves and threatened to send the images to family and friends unless they continued to send him more. They say he pretended to be a teenager online in order to prey upon victims across the country. 11 children have been identified and dozens more are still unidentified. He is sentenced to 30 years in prison without parole. An aviation program is taking flight at Wyandotte High School. The Chief Leaford Bearskin Aviation School will start this coming school year. Freshmen and sophomores will have the opportunity to take classes to get their personal pilot's license or branch out to different pathways like plane maintenance, safety and security, or drone piloting.
Essentially what a lot of these things are is they are hands-on project-based learning opportunities, great opportunities for kids to, instead of just being told about things, to actually go and build those same things using the lens of aviation to understand the world that they're heading into.
The program and supplies are funded by grants from ARISE veterans and the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. The Universal School Meals Program gave all students access to free meals at school. But it's not being renewed for the upcoming school year. KOAM's Amber Jenkins talked to a parent in Pittsburgh.
Parents and kids are enjoying the last few weeks before school starts. However, budgeting for the school year without universal free meals is an added concern.
You have no time, so where I went from a full-time job, I'm lucky if I can get maybe a shift in. My husband works full-time and he makes, decent money, but it's the strain with the gas prices going up, that's been awful, and I commute all the way to Parsons.
With inflation driving costs up, the free school meals took one worry off of Lydia's mind.
Oh, it was so much easier when it was universal. We did before COVID and everything, and then I got the letter just actually last week saying that we were going to have to reapply, and so back again, I was like, oh no, okay, so let me do the math. Are we going to qualify?
The Universal Free School Meals program was enacted as a COVID relief program. Therefore, it needs to be renewed each school year.
And so it went before the federal Congress, and they did not renew the universal free lunch program, and so we're reverting back to the program like it was prior to COVID starting.
That means family like Lydia's have to apply to see if they qualify.
Now they're like, oh, well, COVID's done, and so we should all get back to where we were, so you guys go right back into the slump you were in, and I think that's just so difficult for parents who are even in a worse position than we are.
In Pittsburgh, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Parents can find the application link for free or reduced school meals at KOAMnewsnow.com.
Quick look at the future track shows by this afternoon. We've got storms building into the northwest, and they'll start to overspread the area. They'll be pretty scattered in nature, but then as we head into the overnight, they are really going to increase in coverage, and they're going to stick with us through most of the morning tomorrow. But they will eventually clear out, and once they do, it's going to be another pretty toasty day. Not as toasty as today, but it's still going to be a pretty hot one. But like we've been saying all morning, at least we're now getting the rain that we need.
All right. Well, that's good. Well, this morning we are discussing what you wanted to be when you were little. When some folks were younger, they wanted to be teachers. Right now, there is a shortage in teachers across the country, and Kansas is no different. One Kansas school district is trying to recruit, even though they're just weeks away from students returning to the classroom. And one factor when it comes to recruiting are those graduating and coming out to the field. Another is stress from teaching during COVID to the violence around the country. It's chased many teachers out of the field and made recruiting new teachers a challenge. Starting pay for this particular school district is $45,000. For those hard to fill positions such as math or science, there's a bump in pay of up to $5,000. Well, this brings us to our something to talk about.
Yeah, what did you want to be when you were little? You wanted to be a teacher, police, or a firefighter, or astronaut, superhero, an actor or actress, or a model, or was there maybe something else that you wanted to be? And we talked about this, and this is what I wanted to do, and I knew this from the time I was 5 years old.
I wanted to be an astronaut.
Really?
Yes, I did.
Well, we could probably put you in front of the green screen and put you in space.
I did love news, and I came up with like a farmhouse newspaper that I wrote when I was in like the second grade.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but ultimately I wanted to go into space.
Well, hey, but you made it here, right?
Yeah.
See, and that's, I mean, when I was a kid, I realized too, like looking at the newspaper every day, I'm like, I don't think I could write that much. But news, television news was the perfect outlet because we don't write miles long stories. We get to condense it, and it's a little bit easier to condense that information.
And we have something I didn't have when I made my little farmhouse newspaper. We have computers.
I had computers. You
I had an old school typewriter.
Oh wow!
One of those that had the erase button on it. That like.
Oh, I remember those where you could go back and kind of like a little whiteout ribbon almost.
Yep, it was the ribbon one, and then I upgraded. I think when I was in 4th grade to an electronic one. That was big.
That was fancy.
Yeah,
you're getting fancy up in your farmhouse newspaper.
Yeah, I had to report on all the birth of all the cats and cattle in the field and what crops were growing.
That was big news.
I was destined to be an ag reporter, and that didn't happen.
Hey, but you're in the right area though, because we do have a lot of ag news.
Yes, we do.
Here.
We do. All right.
So make sure you vote, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, KOAM News Now app. Take part in discussion on Facebook. See what other people wanted to be when they were kids.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, we'll meet a bear who apparently has some manners, even if he did walk away in a huff.
Plus, Nancy Pelosi makes a trip to Taiwan despite threats from China. Well, the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is in Taiwan this morning after receiving a warm welcome from government officials, including the nation's president. The trip has riled China, which considers Taiwan part of its one nation vision. In response to what Pelosi called a trip that honors Taiwan's democracy, China has started to conduct military exercises. Trinity Chavez has the latest from New York.
Taiwan welcomed House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to the self-ruled island democracy that China claims as its own. Defying threats from China, she is now the highest-ranking American official to visit Taiwan in a quarter of a century. While receiving an honor from Taiwan's president, Pelosi highlighted the decades-long U.S. commitment to Taiwan.
43 years ago, with the Taiwan Relations Act, America made a bedrock promise to always stand with Taiwan.
The California Democrat also spoke of China's strident opposition to her visit.
They will not stand in the way of people coming to Taiwan. It's a show of friendship, of support.
China considers visits by foreign officials as a sign of recognition of Taiwan's sovereignty, which China challenges. Across the narrow Taiwan Strait, China responded, announcing new military drills ringing Taiwan, and it warned that the U.S. would pay the price for undermining China's interests.
We don't want to see this spiral into any kind of a crisis or conflict. Again, we would say there's no reason to.
For Pelosi, making waves with China is nothing new. In 1991, she unfurled a pro-democracy banner in Beijing's Tiananmen Square. And today, before she departs Taiwan, Pelosi is expected to meet with human rights leaders, which could further rankle China. Trinity Chavez, CBS News, New York.
On Capitol Hill, senators are considering legislation to strengthen Taiwan's defense. Taiwan Policy Act, which has bipartisan support, is expected to be discussed today by the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Among its provisions, the bill would bolster Taiwan's defense capabilities with nearly $4.5 billion in security assistance over the next 4 years and provide other support for Taiwan's democratic government and civil society. The measure would also designate Taiwan as a major non-NATO ally. Well, it may be 8 years away, but preparations are already underway for the 2030 World Cup. On Tuesday, Uruguay, Argentina, Chile, and Paraguay launched their joint campaign to be considered as host for football's highest tournament. Now, the reason? 2030 marks 100 years since the first World Cup was played in and won by Uruguay. The four countries also argue that since the tournament will be then Disputed among 48 teams instead of the current 32, it will need much more space. The South American nations are up against Spain and Portugal as potential host. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. An Oklahoma man is dead following a crash in Montgomery County, Kansas. Authorities say Claude Seacrest of Ponca City, Oklahoma, was driving a motorcycle on County Road 1350 when he went off the road and hit an embankment. He was not wearing a helmet. A Cassville, Missouri high school teacher is sentenced in federal court for a sextortion scheme. Authorities say 31-year-old Brandon McCullough of Branson blackmailed dozens of child victims to send pornographic photos and videos of themselves and threatened to send the images to family and friends unless they continued to send them more. They say he pretended to be a teenager online in order to prey upon victims across the country. 11 children have been identified and dozens more are still unidentified. He is sentenced to 30 years in prison without parole. Law officers arrest a Topeka woman for a Neosho County, Kansas homicide case. Authorities say 41-year-old Nicole Fox is a suspect in the death of 34-year-old Blake Pearson, also from Topeka. Last month, Pearson was found in an alley in Chanute with a gunshot wound. He later died. KBI officers arrested Fox in Allen County. And an aviation program is taking flight at Wyandotte High School. The Chief Leaford Bearskin Aviation School will start this coming school year. Freshmen and sophomores will have the opportunity to take classes to get their personal pilot's license or branch out to different pathways like plane maintenance, safety and security, or drone piloting. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We are starting the day off in a very mild fashion. A lot of us upper 70s to 80 degrees as we get out the door today. And it's just a precursor of what's to come. It's going to be another hot one, highs pushing into 100. But we do have thunderstorm chances building by this afternoon and into this evening. And we also still have the heat advisories in effect, scattered thunderstorms through the afternoon. Those rain chances increase as we go into the overnight, 83 by 11, 75 by 2, 73 at 6 a.m. Rain hanging on through the morning, and there is the possibility of a few strong storms. On the future track, you can see by noon, storms building into the northwest. They become more scattered as the afternoon progresses. And as we head into the overnight, storm chances really start to ramp up across the area, as you can see, and they're going to stick with us. They're about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and then once they clear out, they're going to leave, as you can see, clouds go right along with them. Very clear skies and very warm conditions, and of course that means heat index values once again pushing very high levels. And on the 7-day, quick check, rain chances today, tomorrow, and even into Friday possibly, and then that clears out and it really starts to heat up with highs hitting the 100s by the start of next week. We've got more. The KOAM Morning News right after this.
Well, this is not your average bear. This one has manners to boot.
A South Carolina woman captured video of a bear reaching for her doorbell, and when no one answered, the animal just walked away in a huff.
Jeannie Moose has the story.
It seems bears are everywhere these days. Folks have front row seats shooting home videos of bear antics on their lawn. But who expects a bear to be so well-mannered he paws at the doorbell, then, getting no response, gives up in a huff? Literally. It happened at 3:30 in the morning. Greenville County, South Carolina resident Wendy Watson woke up later that morning and noticed a couple of damaged bird feeders. So she checked her doorbell cam.
I think I might have screamed a little like, oh my gosh.
The Daily Mail dubbed the bear Ringy the Pooh, though paws aren't as effective as fingers. Did it go ding-dong, or did he miss it?
It did not go ding-dong.
But he did leave his mark.
He put his nose on the glass.
He was doing like this and put his
Right.
nose on and left a nose print?
He sure did.
A writer on Twitter asked, why would a bear ring your doorbell, and got loads of responses. Someone joked he was making a food delivery. Uber Eats. But we prefer to think the manners displayed by the bear Wendy now calls Boo Boo can best be explained by Yogi Bear's famous boast,
I'm smarter than the average bear!
But instead of, as Yogi pronounces it, a picnic basket, all this guy got was some bird feed. Ginny Mose, CNN, New York.
So now I'm kind of curious. What would have happened if they had answered the door?
No kidding.
What do you think the bear wanted?
To invite them to a picnic.
That's a possibility.
Possibly.
That's a possibility. He could have been telling them, hey, your bird feeders are empty now.
He was hungry. He just wanted some food.
He was. He's like, excuse me, your buffet line's now out.
But no one answered the door, so.
Nope. How dare they?
The bear must have been casing out the house, though, because he knows that people go in and out that door.
He
Smarter
figured it
than
out.
the average bear, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He knew that's how you get in. And, the postman always,
Yeah, he
a FedEx
figured-
delivery guy, he rings the doorbell when you got a
So-
package, so.
He was just trying to be polite.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to check your forecast right after this. All right, we've got heat advisories through 8 o'clock tonight for everybody in orange. And we also have the threat for some strong storms later today as well. Now, the tornado threat is very low, but there's some hail possible in the brown. And of course, if you're in this shade of brown over here, then you have a chance that there may be some strong to severe winds. Quick look, 7th and range line temperatures. It looks clear outside because it is, and we are starting the day very mild in the 80s, and most of us are starting the day near 80 degrees. And a quick look at what we can expect through the rest of the day. We've got temperatures soaring back to 100 with those heat advisories, some scattered storms this afternoon, and then those storms continue overnight, and some of those may be strong. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, we've got results from Kansas and Missouri elections, including an amendment to restrict abortion rights in Kansas and a proposed Joplin tax hike.
We are also watching the chance of maybe a strong storm or two today. We'll tell you when they'll get here in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we take you to Webb City to meet a beekeeper who says the triple-digit heat this summer has made honey production not so sweet.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. Happy post-election day.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody got out there and voted because it shows in the results we got a lot of big issues, a lot of big things going on yesterday, which Tanya's going to tell you all about.
A lot of close races too.
Yeah, some pretty, and that's the sign. And we've talked about this in the 5 o'clock hour that sometimes all it takes is that one person that voted that maybe thought they weren't going to.
There you go.
To pass something for somebody
Exercise
to win.
your right.
Exactly.
And if you didn't do this time around, this was the primary election, so you still have the November elections too.
Absolutely. One thing it is obvious is people voted for some rain because we're going to see some starting this afternoon. Now, there's the chance of a strong storm or two. Some hail and wind are the primary threats with anything that does get a little ugly later. But otherwise, we're just going to get some thunderstorms. And take a look. You can tell it's going to storm because it's 81 degrees at 6 in the morning. 6:01 now officially. Feels like 84 in Joplin. All of us starting the day close to 80 degrees, if not slightly above. And as we head through the day, temperatures are going to warm up nicely to about 100. But take a look. About noon is when we've got some thunderstorm chances building in. We still have those heat advisories through 8 o'clock. Everybody gets in on the rain and storm chances tonight, though, as they become a little bit more widespread. And it'll also help with our overnight lows. They'll get into the lower 70s to start the day instead of starting the day in the 80s. So take a look at the future track. This is noon. Look out to the northwest, say around Yates Center. Thunderstorms start building in. Now, these initial ones are pretty scattered as we head through the first part of the evening. And as we head into the overnight, they become much more numerous and widespread. And they are going to be what we have waking us up tomorrow morning. But then they'll clear out and they'll leave behind clear skies and another hot day tomorrow, unfortunately. But we're getting this rain. And the rain is good and we need it. And this time, it's happening mostly overnight. Now, today we've got the afternoon chances, but most of the rain going to happen overnight, so shouldn't ruin too many plans.
Mm-hmm. Bring on the rain. We need it, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
I had to mow. We had to mow, and it's very yellow now, so.
All right. See, I still haven't had to mow.
Yeah.
Like I said yesterday, though, just go out there and mow your dead grass anyway.
Make it rain.
Make it rain.
Wash your car, make it rain. Yeah. We need to do that too.
Do that. Get all the rain you can in any form you can. Bring in the dollars.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, you've cast your votes, and now the numbers are in. Here are the results from yesterday's primaries in Missouri and Kansas. We're going to lead off with the Value Them Both amendment in Kansas. It would allow lawmakers to put tighter restrictions on abortions in the state. Now, the entire nation is watching this count. The Associated Press has declared the proposition has failed. Again, the no vote prevails in Kansas. In Joplin, Proposition Public Safety would have raised property taxes to boost funding for the police and fire departments. It needed a simple majority, but it failed. 4,643 no to 3,586 yes. 20 candidates competed for the Republican nomination in Missouri's U.S. Senate race, and Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt is declared the winner in that race. Now, 11 candidates competed to be the Missouri Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate. The declared winner in that race is Trudy Bush Valentine from St. Louis. A lot of Republicans ran the race for the 7th District congressional seat currently held by Billy Long. Associated Press has called this race for Eric Burleson. 3 Democrats are competing for their party's nomination in the Missouri 7th District. Associated Press has called this race for Kristen Radiger Schaefer. And in Missouri's 4th District, 7 candidates are competing for the Republican congressional nomination. Mark Alford has been declared the winner in this race. The people of Carthage voted on an $18 million school bond for a performing arts center. A majority of folks supported that proposal, but it failed to get the 4/7 majority needed to pass. That means Carthage school bond proposal fails. In the Kansas race for governor, Attorney General Derek Schmitt gets the Republican nomination. He will face incumbent Laura Kelly in November. In the Kansas U.S. Senate race, incumbent Republican Jerry Moran easily wins his party's nomination against a single challenger. And a number of candidates are competing for the Democratic nomination for the Kansas U.S. Senate seat. Mark Holland is declared the winner in that race. In other news, law officers have arrested a Topeka woman for a Neosho County, Kansas homicide case. Authorities say 41-year-old Nicole Fox is a suspect in the death of 34-year-old Blake Pearson, also from Topeka. Last month, Pearson was found in an alley in Chanute with a gunshot wound. He later died. KBI officers arrested Fox in Allen County. A Webb City beekeeper family is struggling with their honey production this summer. Jordan Jones says his bees have only been able to produce a third of the amount of honey that they should have produced, only about 120 pounds instead of about 300 pounds. The heat has forced the beekeepers to feed their bees with a sugar water mix. However, if they do this, they're not able to sell the honey because it's not classified as pure honey. The heat does not only dry up the flowers, which also bees use, but also makes the hives hot for the bees to work in and produce honey.
Once you look at the hives, there'll actually be a lot of bees on the outside, and it's called bearding. And so what they're trying to do is fan a bunch of air inside, and they're not going to be able to produce as much because it's just so hot.
The fall harvest is also now in danger. Jones is not sure if they'll be able to have a fall harvest at all this year. Well, on this date, back in 1996, the Macarena begins its domination of the pop charts for a record-setting 60 weeks. That was in 96, wow. The Macarena was the brainchild of Los del Rio, 2 middle-aged Spaniards named Antonia Romero and Rafael Ruiz, who have been performing together since 1962. The original Los del Rio recording of Macarena was a hit in Latin America and gained some measure of popularity in pockets of North America. But when producers Carlos de Yarza and Mike Trier remixed an English version of the tune, now called Macarena, that was the Bayside Boys mix, quickly turned into a smash.
33 weeks, helped along by a popular music video and a dance so easy that anyone could do it. Macarena Bayside Boys Mix reached the #1 spot on the Billboard Pop Chart on August 3rd, 1996. So
it was a favorite at every high school dance.
I can't do the Macarena, but I never really watched the video. I always just listened to the song.
I will teach you later.
Okay. Well, it looks simple enough.
It's one of the easiest dances to do.
That's
But
good.
yeah.
That's good to know. Here's the deal, though. I mean, for me, I was born in '87, so for me, like the '90s were still 10 years ago. That's the stage of life I'm at. So it doesn't seem like 1996 was that long ago until you actually do the math. You go, and then I'm reminded that I'm getting older slowly but surely.
I haven't listened to it in a while. I feel like we need to bring it back.
My best advice to everybody out there: do your best to not get older. Do everything in your power to stop aging right now.
Keep doing the Macarena.
That'll keep you young.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw Tanya. Look how young she looked when she did that.
Thank you. Because you were making me feel old by saying how young you were. Too young for it. So, thank you.
You go on like you're so much older than I am. She talks to me as though she's got 20 years on me, and that is not even close to the case.
No, it's not.
Not
Don't even
in the
think that.
slightest. But she acts like it sometimes. She's like, oh, you're so young, and it might barely.
True. Very true. All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we've got Holly Crane from Joplin's own Bookhouse Cinema stopping by our studio to talk about the honor of being considered for the historic register.
Plus, the $150 million defamation lawsuit against conspiracy theorist Alex Jones gets underway in Austin. We'll have that story.
And we'll meet a boy who is on the mend after a tick-borne disease left him with a severe life-threatening infection. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. But first, here's a look at more primary election results.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, conspiracy theorist Alex Jones testified in a defamation trial in Austin, Texas on Tuesday. The InfoWars founder and fake news propagator is being sued by parents of a child murdered in the 2012 Sandy Hook shooting. Jones said the massacre was staged. Judge also admonished Jones for lying in court after claiming he was broke because his company filed for bankruptcy. Miguel Marquez has the latest.
My son existed.
My son existed, says Scarlett Lewis, the mother of 6-year-old Jesse Lewis, speaking directly to conspiracy theorist Alex Jones in an Austin, Texas courtroom.
Jesse was real. I am a real mom.
In an utterly unthinkable sign of our times, Scarlett Lewis makes the case that she and her dead child are real, directly to Jones.
It doesn't exist, that I'm deep state. It's just not true. I know you know that. That's the problem. I know you know that. And you keep saying it. You keep saying it. Why? Why? For money? Because you've made a lot of money while you've said it. I know you're... I mean... I know you believe me. And yet you're gonna leave this courthouse and you're gonna say it again on your show. You're saying no, you just did it.
On his show today, he raised questions about both Scarlett Lewis and the boy's father, who are seeking up to $150 million in damages.
He is being manipulated by some very bad people. But I'll just say, because I gotta be honest, he's slow, okay? And his ex-wife is not.
The man Jones is calling slow and manipulated, Jesse Lewis's father, Neil Heslin.
I was blessed with 6.5 years. He's been gone 1.5 times. But I cherish those days, those years. Jesse.
In all, families of 7 victims and 1 FBI agent have successfully sued Alex Jones for defamation in 3 different trials taking place in both Texas and Connecticut. Jones testified he was simply trying to get answers to questions that others were asking.
I never intentionally tried to hurt you. I never even said your name until this case came to court. I didn't even really know who you were until a couple years ago when all this started up. The internet had a lot of questions. I had questions.
Based on a separate legal filing, families of Sandy Hook victims allege Jones is using bankruptcy laws to shield tens of millions of dollars from any possible liability.
That's a look at one of today's top national stories. We'll be right back with Holly Crane from Bookhouse Cinema live in the studio right after this.
All right, we've got a very fun interview in here with us today. We've got Holly Crane from Bookhouse Cinema in Joplin joining us, and I'm learning so much about Bookhouse Cinema. I've actually never been there myself, and I need to go because you guys are doing wonderful things.
Thank you. Yes, we were at 715 Broadway in Joplin, in Easttown.
We bought the building in 2017 and opened in 2018. We have counter service, dining, really great fresh food, and it's bigger than a micro cinema. It's a 47-seat art house theater.
So what type of films do you show?
We show new independent releases, documentaries, international films, and classics.
Awesome.
Every now and then we get a local artist that comes in with a film they've made. That happens at least a few times a year.
Why did you and your husband decide to go into this type of business?
Well, it was something that Joplin was really lacking. We both really like the more obscure films, international stuff, and at the time there wasn't everything available streaming either, so it really was a big gap in the industry, in the entertainment industry in the area, and people were really excited to have it.
Okay. Now, the building you're in is unique. It has a lot of history to it as well, and that's something you guys are working on right now.
Yes, yes. There's a section of our neighborhood on Broadway in Easttown that is going to be designated as a historic district. That's all in the process now, but then we also have our building, which all the records we have dated back to 1907, and it's been a lot of different things over the years, but we're also going to be on the National Register where we have all that in process.
What are some of the qualifications to be on the National Register? Does it have to be like 100 years old or?
No, I don't think it's really even that old, but I think it's maybe like 40 years or more, but culturally significant. So just that area of the neighborhood is significant for its history, and our building is in it, and it's been a lot of things. It's been a grocery store and pharmacy and myriad other things over the years.
I know it. Art cinema.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so you guys have, what kind of films are you showing right now, or do you have a new one that's coming out?
We open new films just about every week, and this Friday we have 2 new films opening. One of them is a family-friendly stop-motion animation about a snail named Marcel.
Oh.
And the other one is called I Love My Dad. It's a Patton Oswalt comedy. Both are really funny. Marcel's really sweet too, though. And then we've got classics that we show here and there as well.
Okay. Are you guys open 7 days a week, or what's?
We're open Thursday through Sunday.
Thursday through Sunday.
From noon until 9.
Okay.
We serve food all day during that time, and then there's different show times that are listed on our website, and tickets are also available online.
And you have multiple showings throughout the day? Or?
Yep. We kind of stagger them because we don't only have one screen. And we have an outdoor space that we'll show movies in once it starts to cool down again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not too comfortable to sit outside right now.
It's really not. It depends on who you are, but I prefer to watch a movie inside this time of year.
And the air conditioning, yes. Besides, it's supposed to rain, so we want to be indoors.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. We need rain.
I stopped watching the weather forecast.
Maybe you should plan an outdoor film so that it will rain.
Oh, that would do it. That would definitely do it.
Okay, and how could people get more involved with Bookhouse Cinema?
Well, we do a lot of community events, so there's a lot of stuff that you'll see here and there, especially through Missouri Southern and some of the stuff they're planning for this fall. But if you go to bookhousejoplin.com, you will see all of our show times. Our hours are listed there. You can contact us through that if you're interested in hosting an event or want to request a certain movie or birthday party or anything like that.
And you can become a member as well?
Yep, you can sign up for a membership where you'll have your own account to sign up through movies, rate them, all of that, and we have a monthly membership program as well.
So I'm guessing you take stock of what people think of the movies to bring in the new ones.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we do take suggestions because there's a lot of movies out there, and we do only have the one screen. So we want to make sure to try to support the people that support us by bringing them what they want.
That's awesome.
It's a give and take.
Anything else you'd like to mention this morning?
No, I'm just really excited about rain.
I made your day.
Yeah, you did. I'm so excited. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, Holly, thank you so much for coming in. And I guess I can't say break a leg. It's not that type of show business. So
no, keep my limbs intact if I can help
yes.
it.
Let the curtain rise. There we go.
Yes.
All right. And good luck with the historic status.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanya.
All right. We'll be right back.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a Pennsylvania boy is recovering after a rare tick-borne disease left him with a severe life-threatening infection. The number of reported cases of Powassan virus disease have increased in recent years, according to the Centers for Disease Control. Stephanie Stahl has more.
Jamie Sinison says her 3-year-old son Johnny is improving. He's recovering from a severe infection caused by Powassan virus.
Right now, he's doing really well.
She spotted a tick a couple of weeks before Johnny got sick with headache and high fever. She took him to the doctor, but headed to the emergency room when he continued to deteriorate.
July 2nd is what we call our worst day. That's when we were transferred to Geisinger Pediatric Intensive Care.
Johnny was diagnosed with meningoencephalitis.
Meningitis means the covering of the brain gets inflamed, and encephalitis means the brain cells themselves can get inflamed. And this virus can cause both.
Dr. Swathi Gautam says with no proven treatments, care usually includes fluids, oxygen, and seizure medications. In Johnny's case, doctors decided to try IVIG therapy, an infusion of filtered antibodies from blood donors.
What intravenous immunoglobulin is, it is other people's immune system. Johnny responded very well. Whether it is due to IVIG, I cannot really say. More studies need to be done. Where are you going?
Johnny went home after nearly 2 weeks in the hospital. He receives rehabilitation, speech, occupational, and physical therapy.
He has some clear left side weaknesses. His speech has regressed just a little, and cognitively, I would say he's not necessarily where he was before, but we're really confident that the progress that he has made will just continue.
And the family is raising awareness about tick-borne illnesses.
If we could just help one person get treatment sooner, or recognize the symptoms sooner, or prevent the tick in the first place, everything that we went through would be worth it. And he's going to be okay.
Stephanie Stahl, CBS News.
Preventing tick bites is key. Using insect repellents and checking your body and clothing for ticks when you've been outside will also help. That's a look at today's top health story. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Quick look outside. You can see on the Skywatch Storm Tracker some showers and thunderstorms off to our northwest that are developing, and these guys are actually going to be the precursor to more showers and storms later in the day. Heat advisories through 8 o'clock for everybody in orange, and some of those storms may be a bit on the strong side. Very low tornado threat, but we could see some hail and some gusty winds with these storms. 7th and range line is looking pretty good right now as the sun comes up, but we are also pretty warm, sitting at 81 in Joplin. Most of us starting the day in the 80s. We'll have a look at the complete forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Coming up, we've got the results of Kansas and Missouri elections, including an amendment to restrict abortion rights in Kansas and a proposed Joplin tax hike.
Skywatch Storm Tracker starting to light off. We've got storms forming to our northwest, and they are a sign of what's to come, the latest in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we take you to Webb City to meet a beekeeper who says the triple-digit heat this summer has made honey production not so sweet.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:31. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. Don't you love waking up to the sweet smell of democracy in the morning?
Sure. That means yesterday was election day.
Yes, it does.
And we have results on the morning show.
We do. The smell is so sweet, it reminds me of marshmallows. There, I did both. Now somebody owes me $20. You don't have to pay for good weather, though. I've killed her. I've stopped her. See, my whole goal on the mornings now is to make Tanya feel more youthful, since all she does is complain about how she's like 50 years older than I am.
I am not.
No, you're not, and that's why we talked about that. But I mean, honestly, that's what she does in the newsroom. We get to talk, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so much older than you." I'm like, no.
I never say that. He's
You
making
totally-
up this
you
conversation.
totally say
He's
it
completely
happens.
making it up.
Frequently. We're going to have a behind-the-scenes look of what happens between the morning show and the noon news. We'll bring that to you someday. What we are going to bring to you as well is some rain chances. Take a look at Skywatch Storm Tracker off to the northwest. You see some showers, thunderstorms developing. Heat advisories remain in effect for everybody in orange through 8 o'clock. Some of those storms may be a little bit on the strong side, with some hail and wind being the primary threats. Right now in Joplin, the sun is rising, and it's pretty clear out there, but it's also pretty warm, starting in the 80s. Most of us starting in the 80s as well this fine morning, and temperatures are going to warm up quickly into the hundreds. We've got those scattered storms by this afternoon. Of course, the heat advisories, and as we go into tonight, the storms become more widespread. Some of those may be on the strong side, but they're going to help our temperatures 73 to start the day tomorrow instead of 81 to start the day.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to cooler temperatures, so that'll be nice.
It's brief. It's still going to be hot again tomorrow afternoon, but at least we'll have a nice start to the day with some rain.
Give you a chance to catch up on those AC units.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, the nation has been watching local elections as Kansas puts the issue of abortion rights on the ballot with the Value Them Both amendment yesterday. Now, this amendment would allow lawmakers to put tighter restrictions on abortions in the state. The Associated Press has declared that proposition failed. Again, the no vote prevails in Kansas. In Joplin, Proposition Public Safety would have raised property taxes to boost funding for the police and fire departments. It needed a simple majority, but it failed. 4,643 no to 3,586 yes. 20 candidates competed for the Republican nomination in Missouri's U.S. Senate race, and Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt is declared the winner in that race. 11 candidates competed to be the Missouri Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate. The declared winner in that race is Trudy Bush Valentine from St. Louis. Now, a crowded Republican field competed for the 7th District congressional seat, which is currently held by Billy Long. Associated Press has called this race for Eric Burleson. And 3 Democrats also competed for their party's nomination in Missouri's 7th District. Associated Press has called this race for Kristen Radiger Schaefer. Be sure to download the KOAM News app for all your election needs. You can also go to our website for election information, KOAMnewsnow.com/elections. And we will have complete election results. And once again, that's KOAMnewsnow.com/elections. Well, the heat is affecting not just corn crops and your electric bill. A Webb City beekeeping family is struggling with their honey production this summer. KOAM's Yana Hadula has more.
A Webb City beekeeping family is facing losses with their honey production due to the continuing heat. They only have a third of their production goal harvested.
We produced about 120 pounds of honey this summer, and then we should have probably had about 320 pounds.
Jordan Jones sold out with his summer harvest honey on the first day. His mother, Shauna Jones, also owns her own beehives. She's not happy about the summer heat either.
My hives aren't producing as much as what they have been in the past. This is the worst year we've had so far.
The heat and lack of rain is not promising for the fall harvest season. The family says that the lack of healthy flowers means they're feeding their bees a water-sugar mix.
If we feed them, we can't harvest that honey because it's not pure honey,
which makes the family lose money. This honey is used for the bees to feed them to survive the winter.
So this is their honey stores for the winter. Actually, they don't have too much of it ready. It's kind of hard to see. They have honey in there, but it's not fully capped.
Bees also need extra hydration, something the Jonases make sure they have plenty.
And you can also actually build bee waterers because people who have pools actually have a problem with bees coming to get the water for the pools. So if you make a hand or a small bee waterer, that's going to help out a lot with the bees.
Yana Haudala, KOAM News.
Jordan Jones says if they are able to do a fall harvest, that would happen right before the weather gets colder towards the end of September. We wish them the best. Well, lace up your sneakers for this day in history. The Basketball Association of America and the National Basketball League joins forces to form the National Basketball Association. Founded in 1937, the NBL faced a challenge to its power from the BAA in 1946. And while the NBL held its games in small gymnasiums in smaller cities, the upstart BAA played its games in large market arenas in larger cities. As the BAA grew in power and attracted more players and even some teams from the NBL, representatives from the two leagues met at the BAA headquarters to put together a merger. The new league, I bet you know what it's called, the NBA, was made of 17 teams. After an overhaul in the 1950s made the game faster paced and more fun to watch, the league expanded in the 60s and 70s. Today, the NBA attracts millions of fans and players from countries around the world.
Absolutely fascinating piece of history.
Yeah.
I'm being genuine. I did not know that about the NBA. And now I do. And now you do.
I didn't know it was a merger of two different leagues. That's really cool.
Yeah, that is really neat. So the more you know.
There you go.
The more you learn.
Dropping the day in history.
Quick check of the future track. You can see by this afternoon, those showers and thunderstorms to our northwest start to slowly move in. They'll be scattered throughout the day. Temperatures still pushing about 100, hence the heat advisories. And they'll become much more numerous overnight and into tomorrow morning. They'll stick with us through at least 9 a.m. and then they'll eventually clear out and it'll get really hot again tomorrow. We're talking highs in the 90s.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, the hospitality industry struggles post-pandemic.
As the country learns to live with the coronavirus, hotels nationwide are being impacted, from guest stays to staffing shortages. I'm Skylar Henry in Washington with a look at how the industry is bouncing back.
Plus, we've got our morning talker coming up, and today we want to know what you wanted to be when you grew up. Is it a teacher or a first responder? Maybe an astronaut? We'll let you weigh in. We'll be right back.
In Consumer Watch this morning, while the country continues to learn how to live with the coronavirus, the hospitality sector is still being impacted. Hotels are seeing guests come back, but they're trying to handle the boost in business during an ongoing worker shortage. Skylar Henry has more.
As travelers continue to hit the road for summer vacations, those working in hotels are adjusting to the rising demand.
It's a little bit interesting in that there's been a shift in the type of business.
Tushar Agrawal runs the JW Marriott a few blocks from the White House. During the worst days of the pandemic, guests filled only 5% of the rooms, forcing him to furlough and even lay off a chunk of his staff. Now that guests are filling the rooms again, they have different priorities.
I think what we're finding now is even your business travelers are blending their business travel with a bit of leisure travel. And so they're staying an extra night on either end.
But not every hotel is adjusting to the changing market. The U.S. Travel Association says the broader leisure and hospitality sector is still down 1.3 million jobs compared to before the pandemic.
Where is the biggest void?
It was equal across the board between housekeeping, which continues to be a challenge and always was, but even front desk in the summer and in the hot resort locations, pool staffing and outdoor roles can be hard to fill.
Experts fear the lack of staff could impact the quality of a guest's stay. So many hotels are boosting wages and benefits to attract more workers.
The reality is if we were back to pre-pandemic numbers, the experience tied to staying in those hotels will not be the same as it was for 2019 for anyone that was traveling, simply because hotels don't have the workers.
But Agrawal says he's building back his staff.
But we probably have over 20 jobs posted right now.
He's optimistic the industry as a whole will remain resilient and bounce back even stronger. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Chris for our Something to Talk About.
This morning, we're discussing what you wanted to be when you were little. Now, when some people were younger, they wanted to be teachers. And right now, there's a shortage of teachers across the country. Kansas, of course, no different. One Kansas school district trying to recruit even though they're just weeks away from students returning to the classroom. And one factor when it comes to recruiting are those graduating and coming out to the field. Another is stress from teaching during COVID to the violence around the country. It's chased many teachers out of the field, made recruiting new teachers a big challenge. Starting pay for this particular school district is $45,000, and for those hard-to-fill positions such as math or science, there's a bump in pay of up to $5,000. And that brings us to our something to talk about. What did you want to be when you were little? You got a number of options to choose from, and of course, always other, in case it's not listed. So far, believe it or not, 48% of you say you wanted to be something that's not on our list. 29% of you, though, said you wanted to be a teacher. Of course, your other choices, superhero, first responder, actor, actress, or model, or even an astronaut. Make sure you vote, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do so in the app and take part in the discussion on Facebook. We're about ready to celebrate some birthdays and anniversaries, but first, we're going to check in with Nate Burleson, see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Nate Burleson. Coming up on CBS Mornings, see how restaurant owners are falling victim to extortion schemes, getting demands to pay up, or face a series of bad online reviews. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
Better.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Corporal Keith Coates. The Fredonia, Kansas native served from 1945 to 1946 as part of the 702nd Material Squadron. This veteran also earned the World War II Victory Medal. To Corporal Keith Coates, we thank you. Today's four-state hero.
It is now time to do a little birthday dance and start some celebrations, and we are beginning this fine day with Adley Dixon in Parsons. She is turning 4 years old today, and this comes with love from Mimi and Papa.
I love her crown. She is the birthday princess.
Absolutely.
Sure. And here's another little princess. Macy Reyes Wallen is 4 years old this year in Oswego.
We also have Oakley Slaughter turning 11 years old in Webb City. Happy birthday, Oakley.
All right, Kara Taylor Hurst celebrating birthday number 37 this year. Great picture there of Kara in Weir, Kansas. Birthday love coming from Dad.
And we've got Julie Jarrow from Humboldt. She is turning 42 years old today. Very happy birthday to you, Julie.
All right, we'll stay up there in that neck of the woods. In Iola, Kansas, Llewellyn Peterson celebrating birthday number 51.
And we've got Brian and Deanna Joy. They are celebrating their 37th wedding anniversary over in Altoona. That is a great wedding photo. And a very happy 37th anniversary to you, Brian and Deanna.
I'd like to know if Mr. Joy still has that amazing hair to this day.
I'm sure he does, to be honest.
He does. Happy anniversary, Brian and Deanna. And let's see, our birthday list continues. Ashley Bayou celebrating birthday number 24, former Miami resident there. And Bonnie West in Chanute, happy birthday.
And I've got to send a special birthday out to my middle child turning 9 years old today, Colt. Boy, it's hard to believe he's 9 because it seems like it was not long ago he was just a baby. So happy birthday to him as well. We'll be celebrating this weekend.
Happy birthday, Colt. All right, if you have a birthday, you can submit them to birthdayswithan S at KOAMTV.com or birthdayswithan at KOAMnewsnow.com.
And while you're at our website, why don't you take time to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club? You get some really cool deals from local businesses. All you need to do is go to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. So, coming up, when the KOAM Morning News transitions over to Fox 14, we'll take you inside a house where the owners say they've had a hungry bear help itself to their refrigerator for food on more than one occasion. We may finally have an answer to the question, who's been eating my porridge? When we make the move over to Fox 14. We are going to have a busy weather day today, so heat advisories are going to continue through this evening, but we've got scattered storms possible by this afternoon, and then everybody gets in on the rain chances as we head into the overnight. In fact, on the Skywatch Storm Tracker, I'm going to move over here, and you can see off to our north and west, there's those scattered storms just outside of our area, but they'll be making their way in here. Ahead of that, though, heat advisories until 8 o'clock tonight for everybody in orange. Now, some of the storms we see today could get a little bit on the rowdy side. Shouldn't be too bad, but Doug will keep you updated if any of that changes. But right now, we're just looking at maybe some hail and some gusty winds with some of those stronger storms. The sun is rising. It is absolutely beautiful. It's also absolutely mild, absolutely warm this morning. 81 in Joplin, feels like 84. All of us starting our day around 80 degrees, so a very warm start to the day. And as we head through the day, it's only going to get warmer. As you can see, by 5 o'clock, 100 degrees. We've got the heat advisories. The scattered storms should be kicking in right around the noon hour, and they're going to last through the evening. Then we got more of them tonight. Everybody gets in on the rain action this evening. 83 by 11, 75 by 2, 73 to start your day tomorrow, which is a lot better than 81 to start your day. Storm chances do increase. Some of those storms, again, could be strong, and these storms are going to hang out with us through the morning, in which we will show you. So this is noon. You can see up by Yates Center and the Neodesha, these storms start tracking in. Pretty scattered throughout the day, but they are there. And then as we head into the overnight tonight, they begin to increase in coverage. And by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, everybody getting in on the rain action. Storms and showers and clouds should all clear out of here by about 10 a.m. And it's going to be another hot one tomorrow. Temperatures pushing in the lower to mid-90s. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. An Oklahoma man is dead following a crash in Montgomery County, Kansas. Authorities say Claude Seacrest of Ponca City, Oklahoma, was driving a motorcycle on County Road 1350 when he went off the road and hit an embankment. He was not wearing a helmet. The Cassville, Missouri high school teacher is sentenced in federal court for a sextortion scheme. Authorities say 31-year-old Brandon McCullough Branson blackmailed dozens of child victims to send pornographic photos and videos of themselves and threatened to send the images to family and friends unless they continued to send him more. They say he pretended to be a teenager online in order to prey upon victims across the country. 11 children have been identified and dozens more are still unidentified. McCullough is sentenced to 30 years in prison without parole. Law officers arrest a Topeka woman for a Neosho County, Kansas homicide case. Authorities say 41-year-old Nicole Fox is the suspect in the death of 34-year-old Blake Pearson, also from Topeka. Last month, Pearson was found in an alley in Chanute with a gunshot wound. He later died. KBI officers arrested Fox in Allen County. And an aviation program is taking flight at Wyandotte High School. The Chief Leeford Bearskin Aviation School will start this coming school year. Freshmen and sophomores will have the opportunity to take classes to get their personal pilot's license or branch out to different pathways like plane maintenance, safety and security, or drone piloting. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And some weather to plan your day by. We got storms increasing this afternoon. They'll still be scattered, highs pushing 100 degrees. That's why we've got heat advisories that will stick around. Everybody gets in on the rain action later today, though, as we head for overnight lows in the lower 70s, which beats the lower 80s as we're starting our day today. Storm chances do increase. Some of them may be a little bit on the stronger side, I should say. Here's the future track. They become scattered by this evening, and by overnight and into tomorrow morning, they become a lot more numerous, and they're going to hang out with us through at least 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Once they clear out, though, it gets nice and toasty right back behind there, and so therefore heat index values tomorrow once again pushing 100 to 105. And a look at the 7-day forecast. The rain today, alert day today for those heat advisories. Rain tomorrow morning, maybe some on Friday. Clears out and it gets hot. Temperatures pushing back into the lower 100s as we head into next week. So a little bit of a break, a little bit of the rain that we need, but temperatures really not doing much for us.
All right. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making slow cooker baked ziti in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
I love ziti. I absolutely love it. Okay, I'm really going to be in tune to this one. Your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings up next. The Senate passed the burn pit legislation to expand veteran health care. Next on CBS Mornings, details on the 86-11 vote that left the Senate gallery cheering.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, we've got a pair of interviews coming up for you. First up, we've got the Mirza Shriners pulling in the studio to talk about a fundraiser that you can take part in.
Yeah, and Emily Frankowski from Connected Culture is going to stop by to get us up to date on events coming to Joplin. But for us right now, it's going to do it. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning, and you know when, 5 a.m., this many a.m., as my youngest would say, this many a.m.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.